let's get going. What we need to do today is we're gonna create two. So I'm just gonna put that drawing in front of you now. This is the template machine which we were seeing in the virtual VMware workstation, and this is a virtual template machine shut down right now. We're gonna create two clones, one this one and one this one. We're gonna create two clones for that, and after starting these two clones, we're gonna configure it with this information. So server 1, we will rename the first clone as server 1 and rename second clone as server 2. Then the first clone, server 1, will get the static IP of 0.1 with this IP information, and the preferred DNS would be again the same 0.1 because the DNS server role will be installed on this server. Second, server 2 will be the member server. A member server is a server that is joined to a domain, to a working Microsoft network. IP address 0.2 static IP would be given, but the preferred DNS will be still the same because the role of DNS is installed on this IP address, which is actually this server, right? So all the machines in our network, when they join the domain or join our Microsoft network, their preferred DNS will be always the same. So preferred DNS is just asking, hey, which DNS you want to prefer? And yes, there will be only one DNS server here. If there are two, it's up to us. If there are three, it's up to us. We can just give alternate DNS server as well. But preferred, or the first DNS server for resolving names to IP addresses, it will be 0.1. So that's why every machine in the network will have preferred DNS as 0.1. Okay, let's create two clones. Then we install Active Directory. We configure the two clones. Then we install Active Directory, and we're going to talk about briefly about each and every page of Active Directory. Then we're going to configure DNS server. Then we're going to join this member server to the domain, and let's get started. Okay, here our template machine is placed and it's shut down as it was sys prepped. I'm just going to start making two clones. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna right click the template machine and then just click the clone here and next. The current state in which I have no option to configure here other than next. Okay, linked clone and create a full clone. So linked clone would totally depend on the machine it is linking to. In our case, it's the already shut down template machine. So if it's linked to that, the machine, when it starts the template machine, then the linked clone will be started. And if the template machine shuts down, the linked clone would not be able to start and it will be shut down. So that's not what we want. We want a full clone which independently starts and stops without depending on any of the machine. So there you go. We're gonna select the second one. Next. Now I'm just going to put the name as it's going to be the folder name as well. So server 01. And just for not mixing up with other server 01 machines for VMware or other labs I have, so I'm just gonna put here hump. You could just put anything there, right? So in the location, I am changing the drive letter to D because D drive is my SSD drive and it's gonna be faster. And you can see that it's kinda going faster, and yeah, it is going faster. If I had other drive, SATA drive, it would have gone slow, believe me. So I would recommend that you get an SSD drive, solid state drive. Just go for 128 GB. It would be enough for all the labs. If you go for 500, that's better. But a pure SSD, not hybrid. So as you can see, it's going fast. There you go, it's done. Let's go for the second one. Close, and this is placed here, so I'm just gonna drag it up to my folder dedicated for this lab. I'm gonna select the template machine again and right click, manage, clone. Next, nothing here, we're not requiring linked, we're gonna go for a full clone. Next, and definitely server 02 dash hum, and of course the drive ladder D. Finish. It's gonna start going, and you can see it's faster than the previous one, kinda. And you can see that I have huge amount of stuff open. You can see all the links down there on my screen. And yeah, be careful, always right click this machine to make clones. Suppose you have created a new machine and you think, oh, let's just right click the new machine and make clone. No, that's not gonna work. This one is shut down with sysprep, so everything will be unique, created out of this machine. So when it does stop or finish, then we're gonna just start the two machines, and we're gonna rename the first and second machine, and then give static IP to first and second machine. Okay, so done. Okay, good. So two clones are done, and let's start the two clones and slowly configure each one of them. So I'm just gonna close this here to clear up the screen, and these two clones I will be starting. So number one, power on this virtual machine, and let's see if something pops up. Okay, second one, and power on this virtual machine. So I'll just get rid of this area as well and just close here, but I can come back like this, clicking this, and for now I just want a bigger screen, so, and I would just go for full screen as well, so I could see each machine fully. Could not be changed to the selected monitor layout if you just added a monitor to the, yeah, okay, just I guess should not be something to worry about. So let's see, the machines normally take a little time after being cloned and started, and these two options, first is the basic country setting and language setting. Next, we can just click that. Oh, what's going on? So much for my okay, and I accept, and then let's put the class password and go ahead, click finish, and this machine is ready to be logged into. So I'll just set an alt control delete here and put that class password which I just put there. Oops. And I'll just set up the second machine as well, just on that same error. Next, and then I accept, and the class password here as well. And then send alt control delete to actually log in. We can also press alt control insert directly by first clicking that machine and then alt control insert also gets us that password interface. So the second machine is starting, the first one has also started, and I will just go for server manager has started on both, and it automatically always starts. I am on the dashboard, so I'll just go to the local server and check the hardware configuration, the machine configuration here. Yes, firewall is off, remote management enabled, desktop enabled, as we did. Now we just need to give the static IP and username. Let's just also check if it is automatically 180 days trial version has been activated, but it doesn't seem it is. It has, because the message always shows there. We need to make sure that it is activated for 180 days, right? So although it was supposed to be there because we just cloned it from the template machine, but it's not. So in this case, and it happens, we have to again convert the network card setting of this and both machines to NAT, get the internet, make sure we have an internet, then we will put the automatic updates. So right click the first machine, settings, and go to the network settings. It was on VMnet 12 as exactly we configured it in the template machine, but now we're gonna temporarily click NAT to get internet, and then I will go back to the server manager, and then yes, it's asking, do you want to find PCs, devices, content on this network? Well, okay, so let's check if our two machines have the network, and the two machines having that activated, 180-day license activated, and they do, or at least this one does. And the second machine also has that 180-day trial version activated. So I'm just gonna go to the server manager, and I'm just going to disable, I'm going to change that machine network card settings back to VMnet 12, so our machines would only be connecting to VMnet 12, so they could connect to just each other, and press OK. I'll go to the second one and then connect VMnet 12 so they could be reached from within this network. Press OK, and now I need to give static IP and rename the machine and restart. So I'll just give the static IP now. Let's go to properties. On server 1 I'm doing this press tab for automatic subnet mask showing. Let's put default gateway, and the preferred DNS would be 1. Let's go for change of computer name. Click change, server 01. I'll just go for that same name convention as I put on the creation while in the creation of the machine, virtual machine. So I'll just give it to the OS as well. Press OK. It's gonna ask for a restart, so I've given my static IP and now I'm restarting after changing the name. So restart now. I'll just go to the second machine and go to the server manager, do the same thing, go to the local server. First go to the IP, double click Ethernet properties, v4, uncheck v6, double click v4, 92.168.0.2, press tab, and then 168.0.50. Although we don't have a gateway device, we'll just put it anyway. And DNS, which of course is the same. Server 1 would have the DNS role installed, so the IP of server 1 would be mentioned in all the machines that's going to join this network. That's okay. So the first machine, server 1, is restarted. Let's just go to the password by clicking those 3 buttons for all control delete. The machine is logged in. Okay, so if I check the local server now, yep, it's renamed, the IP is there, v6 is enabled. Yeah, I should just go there and check that. IPv6 unchecked, and click here anywhere and press F5 to refresh the whole screen. Yep, now it's gone. So both machines are configured, and well, on the second machine I was just checking. Yeah, I did not rename and restart that, so I'm just clicking change here, and it would be server 02-hum. You could just name it anything according to your naming convention, but have a systematic, you know, making sense naming convention. Press OK, and it's gonna go ahead and restart. Now I'm going to server 1 and let's convert this standalone server to a domain controller. So first I need to add the binaries of Active Directory. So whatever role we want to install, all the roles and features are, first you have to go in Server Manager, then to the dashboard, and there you have your roles and features under the configure this local server. So let's click this, and the welcome screen, yeah, next, role based or feature based. So yeah, it will be role based. Next, and yes, it will be on server 1 because we're going to convert server 1 into a domain controller by installing Active Directory on it. Next, so there you are, the roles. So we're gonna just click the second one. Do not click the first one. It's the certificate services. It's for security purposes. We will be installing this lab later, but for now, Active Directory domains and services. I have just clicked the second one, and whatever features it's trying to add for this role are mentioned here. And yes, we're gonna just include everything and click add features here and click next. Well, the feature window still comes, but we already selected that, so we're just gonna leave the rest of the default. And next, well, Active Directory domain services binaries, or the files which will help to install the Active Directory later, are going to be installed now. These are just the binaries or the files only. So we are not this is not going to install Active Directory. This is just making sure the files are here, which will help install Active Directory. Okay, restart the destination server. Yeah, just click that because if it needs a restart, it will restart. Otherwise, it's okay. It's not going to. Press yes. Click install. So that's just installing the binaries. And that sometimes take time. Okay, done. Let's go ahead, click close, and we can see now ADDS has been added here. in the server manager root list, or on the left side column. Let's just click that, and configuration required for Active Directory domain services. Yep, we need to configure that, and it's also mentioned here. There is also mentioned more here, but you would notice that there's a yellow sign on the flag. Let's just click here, and it's going to say the same thing, configuration required for Active Directory domain services. Yes, let's just click here, promote this server to a domain controller. Domain controller hosts an Active Directory, and from here we create our first network, Microsoft network, which is called domain, and the server that's going to host the Active Directory is called domain controller, or from where we can manage our network. Okay, so there are a few choices here. Add a domain controller to an existing domain. We don't have an existing domain. Add a new domain to an existing forest. We don't have a new existing forest. So add a new forest. Let's just click that. Oh, it's gonna ask, oh, what's your forest domain name for this forest, for your company which you've set up and you're setting this network for. So we're gonna name our network now, and for our lab purposes we're just gonna name it mydomain.local. It is not case sensitive, just putting it so it's readable. You could just have it all small letters or caps on, it doesn't matter. Write the domain name and click next. Now you have forest functional level and domain functional level, and then there are domain name, DNS. You want to install that. So forest functional level. So forest wide, forest contains all the domains, right? So there's only one forest always within that forest. It's the final container, and our network, finishes there. There's nothing above forest. Everything's below forest. So under the forest, we're gonna have our domain, our tree, our sites, our OUs. So but there's a hierarchy here. We're gonna discuss that. But right now, forest functional level, yes, we want the latest one because we need to know the latest features. And functional level means that all the latest technologies that have been introduced in this version of Windows. If we have forest functional level of Windows 2008, it will implement all those features on the forest level which were introduced in Windows Server 2008. So we want to go for the latest one. Notice that if I click the older features for backward compatibility, and then I go to domain functional level, it's also showing me that okay, on maybe some of our domains, maybe one domain is in Toronto, second domain is in New York, third domain is in London. So all those domains have Windows 2008 servers and or domain controllers, and you would want backward compatibility, so you would still allow some features of 2008 be there, and there are lots of other reasons that you would want this to be, but main is backward compatibility with the older versions. If I select, so these options are available if I'm selecting forest functional level as 2008. If I drop down to R2 and let's check the domain functional level, so only 2008 is now gone, but the rest of the three are showing that it will support all these. If I select only 2012 and in forest functional level and go to domain functional level, the only two supported domain functional levels are, so whatever forest functional level is, it's gonna support exactly that domain functional level and newer, right? So I'll just go for the latest one, R2, and now only R2 is supported, right? So we're just gonna leave it to the latest one because we need to check all the latest features of Windows 2012 R2. Do we want to install DNS? Yes, we want to install DNS, and it's going to install and configure automatically for us the forward lookup zone portion of the DNS, which is resolving host names to IP addresses. So yes, we want that. Global catalog is necessary. Global catalog is used for forest level search as well as logons of user accounts, and for many other features, but main are those. Read-only domain controller, no, the first domain controller cannot be a read-only. The only domain controller is for security reasons, and it is placed in mostly in branches, and it does not contain or cache or locally secure the passwords of the users. The read and write domain controller, the one we are now installing, it caches or locally stores all the domain passwords, but RODC does not store. So RODC does not take part in the authentication of all the users unless we decide which users passwords will be stored in RODC. And in coming labs we're going to do RODC, and we're going to discuss about that. For now, yes, the first domain controller of our forest cannot be an RODC. Okay, password for directory sources restore mode. This is for when we are taking backups and we want to restore we want to do an authoritative restore. Then we go here and directory service restore mode. After restarting the domain controller and pressing F8, it takes us to the safe mode, which is also and the restore features are available there. Authoritative restore is available there. We're going to discuss that too later. Okay, next. A delegation for this, it's looking for a DNS server, and since we're installing now, so of course there's no DNS server, so we can safely ignore this error. Next. NetBIOS name, it's gonna offer one name here, not the format in which we just created our domain name like mydomain.local. It's just mydomain. So it's for backward compatibility, as for those old legacy applications that were connecting to the domain with a single name. Even now, if some applications are designed, I'll be amazed if there are any. If some applications are designed to connect with Active Directory with a single name, so this would be useful for those applications. So we're going to just keep it like that, but we can change it as well if we want, but we're just going to keep it like that. Next. Specify the location of NTDS database, log files, and sysvol. So database folder is this NTDS, where so in this folder C, Windows, NTDS, our Active Directory database is going to be present, and all the Active Directory objects, users, computers, OUs, organizational units, groups, and everything else, all the objects will be stored here. Log files will also be stored in this folder, and which will, we can use them for main troubleshooting purposes, what happened at what time. So sysvol folder is very important. It contains the group policies and in a centralized manner, so it could be implemented throughout the domain to all the client machines and users, as well as it contains all the scripts that we can use centrally to deploy it throughout the domain to all the clients, users, and computers. So it's a pretty important folder. Next, this is a summary and view script. If you click that, it's going to give you a script of all the choices we made, and then we can later use this PowerShell script to deploy Active Directory to branches with these settings without GUI interface. We can just use a script to install the whole thing. So it can be very handy, very useful. Next, verifying prerequisites for domain controller operation. Okay, so some more yellow signs here. Windows R2 domain controllers have a default for the security settings named allow cryptography algorithms compatible with Windows NT 4 that prevents weaker cryptography. So the thing is that if you have Windows NT, it won't connect to that. So ignore that. We don't have Windows NT in our networks. And delegation for this DNS server cannot be created. Of course, we don't have a DNS server yet, so we can safely ignore that. If you go down, everything else is okay. All prerequisite check passed successfully, click install. So we go ahead and install. And then it's going to restart. After that, let's check while the Active Directory is being installed. We can check here on server 2. So yep, it's ready to be logged in. I'll just click these buttons for Control Alt Delete and get the credentials prompt and put my password, class password, and go inside. Well, we're gonna stay here and we're gonna come back later when we are ready to join server 2 to the domain. Right now, Active Directory is being installed on server 1, and yeah, it's trying to restart as Active Directory is installed, and it's just giving this option. The computer is being restarted, and there you go, it's restarting, and we're coming back up. So we're gonna just log in and check if Active Directory is installed, and I'm gonna visit some places and check if there's a proof of that Active Directory is installed or not. So waiting for it to fully start. Maybe I should pause it as it's taking time. Okay, so we're back, and the Active Directory installation, after the Active Directory installation completed, it restarted and it's back. So let's click Alt Control Delete, go inside. And it's up, we're inside, and let's check if Active Directory really was installed. Well, it did, but let's just visit the places to have a proof. And if you click on Server Manager on the dashboard, if we go and click the tools here, it's now showing the icons: Active Directory Administrative Center, Domains and Trusts, Module for PowerShell, Sites and Services, Users and Computers, and ADSI Edit. So icons are there. I would just go to Windows Explorer and then go to C drive and go to Windows and click anywhere and just press N, and if NTDS folder is there, this means it's a domain controller. Double click that, and ntds.dit is the database file inside which all the Active Directory objects are present. So yes, it's there. If I go to run and // server-hum server server1-hump, which is the name of this server, and press enter to see its shares. Yes, sysvol and netlogon shares are there, which means it's a domain controller. Sysvol and netlogon only appear on the domain controllers. Okay, so let's open our DNS. Active Directory is installed. Let's open our DNS, which Active Directory heavily depends on. And if you open DNS, double click that. So there's global logs, forward lookup zone, reverse lookup zone, trust points, and conditional forwarders. So if you go to forward lookup zone, it is responsible for resolving host names to IP addresses. Okay. So I would just I have clicked the name of my domain, and on the right side I see its own A record, host record. This is the IP and name of our server. That's the only machine in our network right now. We're gonna join server 2 later, and then we're gonna revisit this area, and we will find that server 2-hump with the IP address, with its IP address, will be showing here as well, right? So that's what DNS do. Just it keeps information about username, password. No, it keeps information about the machine name and IP address, username, password. Whoa. Okay, anyway, so let's check reverse lookup zone. Nothing here. Let's go back to forward lookup zone and mydomain.local. So these are the records our DNS server has always. Let's check one more thing, and let's configure a bit more. Although we do not need any more configuration of DNS here. If we leave it like that, the name resolution is working for Microsoft Network, but we want to configure it a little more. What do I mean by that? If I go to run and cmd, and then I type a command called ipconfig nope, sorry, it's nslookup, enter, and this shows the name of the DNS server and the IP of the DNS server. So as I said, it's working, but let's make it properly showing our FQDN, fully qualified domain name, FQDN, and the correct IP, right? So that will be a couple of manual steps. Then after that, our machines and our client machines will be showing the same information as well. So for that, I'm going to minimize that because I have to revisit that command prompt again and again. I'm not going to close it. Okay, so I'm just going to configure. First I will correct my IP address. So I'm just going to go here to the server manager and then to the local server, and there it is. And I'm going to make sure by going inside Ethernet and then properties and then IPv4 that my preferred DNS is the same IP as the IP of the machine, and no, it is not. And this happens. 127 means that it's pointing to itself, loopback IP address, and it means that while restarting and after installation of Active Directory and DNS, and when it was restarting, it found that itself, this server itself is a DNS server, so it just changed its preferred DNS to point to itself by giving the 127 IP address. So we're just gonna change it back to the IP of the machine, so it should properly show that where our DNS server for this network is installed. So press OK, press OK, press close, and close. We are back to command prompt. I'll Control C out of this interactive mode, and then up arrow and lookup. At least my IP address should be showing correctly, right? Enter. Okay, at least my address is showing correctly, but now default server is unknown. Before it was localhost because IP address was for the localhost, of course. It was pointing to itself. Now I need proper FQDN showing here, like server1-hump dot my domain dot local, right? The full proper name of the server as well as the domain. Okay, so let's go back and do something else. I'll just go to DNS, which is already opened, go to reverse lookup zone, and I'll configure that. Reverse lookup, so forward lookup zone is for resolving host names to IP addresses. Reverse lookup zone is for resolving IP addresses to host names. It's the opposite, right? Right click, reverse lookup zone, new zone, next. Primary zone, secondary zone, stop zone, and store the zone in Active Directory. So yes, primary zone is read and write zone, and zone always contains the name and IP, or IP and name of the machines. Secondary zone is a read-only zone if you want to put it to some other places, so it gets all the updates from primary zone, just to help out with the name resolution on large scale networks. Stop zone is just it does not have the full database of the primary or secondary zone. It just points to the correct name server, that hey, there is a server with a secondary zone installed, or there is a server with primary zone installed. It's for small branches, remote small branches. Stop zone is installed. And store the zone in Active Directory. So this is the most important, that DNS will be Active Directory integrated. When Active Directory sends replications or updates to another domain controller, the DNS updates are also sent, and the DNS updates are also encrypted, just like Active Directory domain controller updates. Okay, that's good. So we're gonna just stick to the defaults. Next. To all DNS servers running on domain controllers in this domain, yes, we have only one domain called mydomain.local, so that would be still okay. The rest of them are to all DNS servers running on domain controllers in this forest. So to all DNS servers in this forest, there's only one DNS server in this forest for now, so even if you select that, doesn't matter. We're just gonna stick to that one. So to all domain controllers in this domain for 2000, if we have older domain controllers, then we would select that. We don't have any older domain controllers, so we're gonna stick to this one in our domain, right? Next. Yes, we're gonna use IPv4 reverse lookup zone, not v6. And then we're gonna give 192.168.0. We're gonna just tell what network we are using. So that's why it's network ID. Next. Allow only secure dynamic updates. Yes, it should be secure and automatic. Allow both non-secure and secure means that those updates which are known, so it should send or receive name resolution information from secure, which means they are known to Active Directory, and also non-secure, which are not known to Active Directory. So in certain scenarios we can select those two, or do not allow dynamic updates, or it will not automatically update. But yes, we're gonna go for secure and dynamic. Next. Finish. So we have installed reverse lookup zone. Let's just click refresh, and I'm selecting the name of the server and refreshing again. Let's check. Control C out of the interactive mode of NSLOOKUP, up arrow NSLOOKUP, enter. It's still showing unknown. Control C out of that. Now let's use two more commands that are widely used for troubleshooting DNS issues. ipconfig /flush DNS, and up arrow again, ipconfig /register DNS, enter. Now this better configure this. So up arrow, NSLOOKUP again, enter, and there you go. Default server, now it's showing proper fully qualified domain name. Server1-hum is the name of this server, and mydomain.local is the name of this domain. That's good. Now we're in business. So it's properly showing the information of the DNS server. Okay, minimize that. Next task would be to join this server to the domain, server 2. Let's go to server 2 now, and open command prompt by going to run and then press OK. Now if my preferred DNS has the correct IP information, then if I type nslookup on server 2, it will directly give me that correct information from server 1. Because we have manually configured their proper information, it should be giving here as well, as long as local server. If I go to local server, go to Ethernet, double click the Ethernet properties, v4, as long as we have correct IP in preferred DNS, it's going to show us correct information. Cancel out, close, cancel, go to command prompt, nslookup, enter. Yep, it's on server 2. I'm getting correct information already. I don't have to go on 20 steps, long steps to get that information here as well. So throughout the network, whichever machines join this domain, it's going to give correct information like this. Okay, let's join this computer to the domain. So I'm in server manager of server 2 and local server, and I'm going to the computer name here. No, I'm going to the workgroup. I'm going to change workgroup to domain. Click change and domain here. What is the name of my domain? My domain. And always type the full name of the domain. mydomain.local. It can also join the domain with just the prefix, but it's always recommended by Microsoft to put the full name there. Press OK. It's going to ask, hey, who is doing this very sensitive domain operation? So we're going to say we are the administrator. Administrator account is the king of the jungle, which means it has all the rights and privileges and permissions to do anything it wants. So it has to be properly secured, and the password should be changed regularly, should be renamed and disabled, and some other account with the same permissions should be used for these operations. Okay, anyway, right now in our lab we have administrator, so let's press OK. Welcome to the mydomain.local domain. Okay, so, and it's going to definitely restart after that, so let's just restart this server. While it's restarting, I'm going back to server 1. DNS window is already open, going to forward lookup zone, going to mydomain.local, and until now server 2 has not shown here. It's supposed to automatically show here, so let's just wait for it to log in back. It's back, and let's log in, but wait a minute, never log in from administrator account when it is showing the name of the server. We should always log in when it's showing that domain name, which is mydomain.local should be showing here, or just mydomain should be showing here. So otherwise, if you log in from here, it's going to log you in to this machine, and you won't be able to use the network services. Okay, back, other user, and I'll properly type my domain / administrator, which is the account having all the privileges and permissions across the domain, and then the class password. Okay, it has properly joined to the domain with the correct domain credentials, domain administrator credentials. I'm going back to server 1, and I'm just going to check here, right click, refresh, and see server 2 has finally shown here. So it's added automatically to the DNS server. If we go to tools, has it been added to the Active Directory? So tools, then Active Directory and computers, users and computers, and has it been joined there? So if I expand mydomain.local, then there's a container called computers, and yes, it's showing there as well. But where's server 1? Server 1 is part of the domain. Actually, it created the domain, right? It's in domain controllers here. So we joined the computer to the domain after creating 2 clones and installing our domain controller and configuring DNS. Another step would be to secure our administrator username. So I am on this Active Directory. I'll be Active User and computers. I'll go to users, this is the administrator account, right? It has all the privileges and permissions to do anything across the network, so it's very sensitive account. I'm just going to disable that after renaming and creating another account with another name, right? So right click this and click copy. Copying this account would get the new account all the privileges and powers of this administrator. So copy that, and we can just put any name there. So it could be, well, since it's the lab and servers tend to forget the names, so I'm just gonna put here admin1, although we should be putting something else to rename, but then students tend to forget that, oh, what was that? Oh yeah, the admin1. Okay, then they will remember, yeah, that's the one we copied. In production environment, just use some other name, right? That would not give a clue that it's having the admin privileges, right? Okay, admin1 is the logon name as well, from which we will log in. Next, class password. And if you want to choose any of these options, I don't want the user to change the password at next logon. User cannot change password. Yes, user can change password. But that password never expires. Okay, I'll be okay with that. Disabled? No, I'm enabling it. Next, and finish with the summary. And there's the admin1. Now, once you've created another account with the same privileges, do not go and disable now, okay? Log in from this account, then come here and disable it. So I'll just go there and administrator, sign out. I'm on server 1, right? And then this all control delete. Here I'm not going to use administrator, so I'm just going to go back, other user, and admin1. If somehow we forget the password, at least we did not disable administrator account, right? So we're just gonna go back and maybe remember it. So yep, it perfectly logs in from admin1, and we're just gonna go back and disable safely the Active Directory and computers. We're gonna disable safely the administrator account inside Active Directory users and computers, hence following the security measures. But of course, don't give away this admin1 by putting it the same name, nearly the same name as administrator. Just give it some other name in the production environment, right? So what I'm doing, disable account. Administrator has been disabled. Okay, that's good. So you can see this down arrow, black down arrow. Okay, so that sums it up all. So what we did was, first we create 2 clones, then we made sure that 180 days trial version is showing, this one on the right bottom side of both servers. Then we renamed the computer names, put the static IPs, and then restarted, and then we installed Active Directory files, and then installed Active Directory itself and DNS, and then we restarted the Active Directory and checked the proof if Active Directory really is installed, and then we properly configured DNS to show proper naming and IP address, and then we joined server 2 to the domain mydomain.local, and finally we renamed the administrator account and put another user there to disable administrator. And yes, we should come up with something else when it comes to the replica of administrator account. Okay, so until next video, it's bye bye from Amir.